Hi, this is Gary with deermanage.com. In this video I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what can happen to a deer population if there is an extremely high fawn recruitment or an extremely low fawn recruitment. I will also show you an example of an extremely high mortality rate. Let me start with an extremely high fawn recruitment. I occasionally hear someone say that every one of their does has 2 fawns. They are probably mistaken because this is highly unlikely. If this was happening, then every doe, including 1.5-year-old does, would have 2 fawns, at least average out this way. Plus, since we are calculating the fawn recruitment rate in late summer or early fall, some of the fawns have already succumbed to some form of mortality. This early mortality is accounted for in the fawn recruitment rate since those fawns perished before we calculated our fawn recruitment rate. So just for grins, let's see how the numbers work out if we did have a 200% fawn recruitment rate. So in my example, again, I'm going to have 20 different resident bucks. Resident meaning they spend most of their time on this property. We're saying it has a 2-to-1 doe to buck ratio. And guess what? We're going to go ahead and put a 200% fawn recruitment rate. Let's just say they have a 10% mortality rate. This is natural mortality rate, which does not include hunting. So 10% mortality rate for does, 20% mortality rate for bucks. They say they're happy with their deer population keeping 20 different resident bucks and a 2-to-1 doe to buck ratio. But let's calculate and see how these numbers work out. So yeah, we're estimating our population to be 140 deer. That would be the 20 bucks with a 2-to-1 doe to buck ratio. That's our 40 does. And with every doe having 2 fawns, we're looking at 80 fawns. Okay. So if we go down below, we're estimating our mortality, which is 10% for the does, to be 8 does, 12 bucks for a total of 20 deer. But look at the harvest estimate. The harvest estimate is saying we should harvest approximately 32 does, 28 bucks for a total of 60 deer. So between our harvesting of 60, our mortality of 20, that's 80 deer, which of course equates to this, but having to shoot 80 deer, we only have 60 deer, of which most of them are 1.5, and only a handful are going to be older than 1.5. So this would cause some serious issues from a management perspective. You obviously would have to be shooting a lot of young deer in this case because your older deer are not going to be there. And you don't want to not shoot enough deer and have an overpopulation situation, because an overpopulation situation is not good either. The deer will be less healthy and the antlers are certainly not going to reach their potential. But please remember, this is a hypothetical situation based on a 200% fawn recruitment rate, which is probably never going to happen, but I learned a long time ago, never say something is impossible and never say never, but this is highly unlikely that this would happen. Let's bring it down a little bit to let's say a 1.3 to 1 fawn recruitment rate and calculate on that. This is a fairly high fawn recruitment rate. Odds are if you have a recruitment rate this high, then you probably have fawns that are being bred, which certainly would attribute to having a higher fawn recruitment rate such as this. But this certainly is not as ridiculous as having a 200% fawn recruitment rate. So let's see how the numbers work out if we have a fawn recruitment rate of 1.3. Our estimated mortality again in this situation is going to be 7 does and 9 bucks for 16 deer. Our harvest estimate has come down a bit, but we still need to shoot 19 does and 17 bucks for a total of 36 deer. So that gives us a total of 52 deer. At least we have 60 deer that are not fawns. But obviously if you're going to shoot 52 out of 60, you're going to have a whole bunch of fawns left and maybe some yearlings. So again, with the high fawn recruitment, you can see how this could cause some big issues. But in the same token, we are only using a 10% mortality rate for does and 20% mortality rate for bucks. If we bump that number up, things would not be that bad. So let's go ahead and just for grins, and let's just say we have a 30% for does, a 30% for bucks, and do calculate on that. The difference here being our estimated mortality now went up to 34 deer. We're only going to harvest 18, but we're still dealing with 52 deer that basically are going to be taken out, 18 of them by us for hunting. So again, the higher recruitment, you have to watch out what you ask for. We still end up with a lot of deer, but this certainly would not be as bad as the other scenario. Now let's look at a situation where we have a low recruitment rate. And let me put in there 0.30, which is certainly more to the low side. Let's put this back to a 10% mortality rate for does and a 20% mortality rate for bucks, and see what we work up. So with the slow fawn recruitment rate, we're estimating we're going to have approximately 72 deer on the property. Let's go down below. Our estimated mortality will be 5 does, 5 bucks for a total of 10 deer. Look at our harvest estimate. In this property here, we should really only shoot 1 doe and 1 buck for a total of 2 deer. And the reason that is happening is because we are not recruiting very many deer. We're going to be recruiting approximately 12 deer into the deer population. So in this case here, having that low recruitment rate, you can see how restrictive your hunting really needs to be. And if you're not aware of this and you've got a lot of hunters out in the woods, you can see how your deer population could get in trouble really fast. The last thing I want to do is let's go ahead and move this back up, and let's make it more average to high side on 0.80 for recruitment rate. But let's look at some crazy mortality rate. 50% on the does, 50% on the bucks. Whether you're dealing with a disease situation, a winter kill situation, I mean, let's just look at 50% and see how that works out. So yeah, we certainly were hoping we have 92 deer, but when we get down below here, if we in fact experience a 50% mortality rate on the does and bucks, look what happens. Our estimated mortality will be 28 does and 18 bucks for a total of 46 deer lost to mortality. Negative numbers is not a good thing. It means we cannot reach our harvest estimate at all. So we're going to basically not shoot any deer. All we can do is hope that the mortality rate improves next season, and then we can adjust our harvest accordingly. But in a case like this, where really and truly your deer population is going down, it may take a year, it may take 2 years, it may take 3 years of harvesting no deer to allow that deer population to get back up where it needs to be. So you can see how important it is for us as property owners, deer hunters, deer managers to get a good feel for our fawn recruitment rates and for our mortality rates. This formula is available in the advanced version of our software. This concludes the video on how a high and low fawn recruitment and a high natural mortality can affect a deer population. If you have any questions or comments, please contact us at info@deermanage.com. Thank you for watching.